Hello, dear viewers. You are on the channel. Good mood to you, and enjoy listening. Story 1. Nastya, my wife, is a businesslike and respectable woman. She works as the dean of the mathematics department at a very prestigious university. We have been living together for almost 15 years, and we have a daughter who is as enthusiastic about science as her mother. I myself work as an engineer and am often sent on business trips, including those abroad. Sometimes I don't see my family for weeks. But cheating on my wife was never an option for me. I have always been faithful only to Nastya, and I was sure that she was also faithful to me. But one winter evening, everything changed. I was going on a business trip for a few days. However, at the airport, I received a call from my boss informing me that my trip would be postponed until the end of the month, and I could go back home. This sudden change of plans gave me an idea. Right from the airport, I stopped at a flower store, where I bought a huge bouquet of Nastya's favorite white roses. Then, I headed to her workplace, hoping to surprise her and take her to a restaurant. As I approached her office, it was near the end of the day, and classes had already ended. I hoped to catch Nastya alone, present her with the flowers, and have a romantic evening. However, as I approached her office door, I heard women's moans and rhythmic tapping. My mind couldn't comprehend what I was hearing. I didn't want to believe that my wife was involved. I thought, what if it wasn't her? Maybe some students snuck in and are having fun. So, I hesitated to enter and embarrass myself. I moved away from the door and sat on a bench at the end of the corridor, waiting. After about 5 minutes, a young student came out of the office and headed for the men's room. That's when I decided to investigate and find out who the woman was that I heard moaning. I entered the office and found my wife in the far corner, with her blouse unbuttoned. Nastya was startled and almost fell off her chair when she saw me. I stood there, paralyzed, for a minute, looking at her. Confused and frightened, she asked why I was there since she thought I was on a business trip. In that moment, I realized that she knew I had discovered what was happening. I threw the flowers on the floor in disappointment and rushed to the bathroom where the young man had gone. Nastya, unaware of my intentions, assumed I had left the office, as she heard me walking down the stairs in my high heels. Alone in the bathroom, I tried to collect my thoughts and decide how to proceed. Although my fists were itching for a fight, I knew I had to maintain composure. I wanted to confront the guy, so I yelled for him to come out. A few seconds later, a young man emerged from the last stall. He was in tears, shaking and sobbing. He asked who I was, and I could tell he was scared. In that moment, my fighting spirit subsided, and I calmly talked to him. I assured him that I wouldn't tell anyone but wanted to listen to him as a friend. He confessed everything. He was on the verge of being expelled from the university because Nastya had failed him on the third retake of a math exam, even though he knew the material well. His dorm mate suggested that the only way to pass the exam was to sleep with Nastya. If he didn't comply, he would be expelled from the dormitory and forced to return to his village. He had a girlfriend in the city whom he loved deeply, and he didn't know how to face her after what he had done. He regretted listening to his dorm mate's advice and realized he would never forget it. I comforted the young man, assuring him that it wasn't his fault. He had been manipulated and left with no choice. After our conversation, he regained some composure, and we went our separate ways. When I returned home, Nastya was pacing in our bedroom, relieved to see me. She had been worried and thought something had happened to me. I explained that I knew everything and had spoken to the student. I informed her that I would report her actions to the university's rector, and whatever happened, I would keep my promise. I reported Nastya's misconduct, ensuring that her grading practices were brought to light. I asked her not to spread this information among the students and urged her to take responsibility for her actions. As a result, Nastya was fired based on the evidence. Now, she will never find a good job, and she will never see our daughter again. I refuse to let such a monster raise my child. I still can't believe that I lived with a woman capable of such disgusting things. Story 2. Flusha is faithful. He doesn't drink. He's always at home. Why did you leave him? Where else are you going to find a guy like that now? My mother and all my friends were upset. Lisha and I met when we were in our 20s. We were students at that time, and I made it clear to him that I was only interested in a serious relationship. Lisha agreed, and after a month of dating, we moved in together. We lived in my apartment in the city center, which was left to me by my grandmother. We had dreams of finding jobs, getting married, renovating our apartment, going on vacations, and eventually having kids. However, our plans didn't work out as expected. After graduation, I quickly found a job in my field, but Lisha struggled to find one for a year or more. It is a common struggle for fresh graduates without experience. Despite the financial burden, I supported him while he searched for a job. Eventually, through an acquaintance, he landed a position at his uncle's firm. Our lives seemed to be getting better. However, our relationship lacked the happiness and adventures we had imagined. Instead of going out, traveling, enjoying movies, theater, or having fun with friends, we often stayed at home. Leisha would come home tired and spend his time in front of the TV. The household chores, cooking, laundry, and cleaning became my responsibilities. For 5 more years, I continued living with Leisha in this monotonous routine. A couple of months ago, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary together. I couldn't believe it, but Leisha finally invited me to a restaurant. I was thrilled and had a feeling that he would propose to me there. However, at the end of the dinner, Leisha started saying something that didn't match my expectations. He asked why I was crying and clarified that he wasn't going to propose. Instead, he jokingly asked if I could pay the bill because he planned to buy a new console with his paycheck. Filled with disappointment and hurt, I threw the money for our dinner in his face and ran out of the restaurant in tears. I hailed a taxi, rushed home, gathered all of Leisha's belongings, and threw them over the threshold. Locking myself inside, I cried into my pillow until morning. That night, I finally realized that I had wasted the best years of my life on a lazy man. It was my fault for allowing him into my life, for accommodating his laziness, and neglecting my own desires. He lived as he pleased, while I adjusted myself to fit his needs. I was fearful of being in my 30s and worried that I might not find my Prince Charming. However, I believe I made the right decision. In today's world, a woman should seek her own happiness, and jumping with joy just because her partner isn't unfaithful or drowning in alcohol isn't enough. I still have hope that I can find my happiness as a woman. Thank you for listening to the stories until the end. If you enjoyed them, please support us with a like and subscribe to our channel. We would also appreciate your thoughts in the comments section.